Big topic. I don't want to spend that much time because I want to have these guys to discuss about it. But based on our latest research, in Europe, only 2% of tech scale-ups, meaning startups that reach a certain level, go public, make an IPO. Meaning that something is wrong there. And so the big question is wrong because the IPO is no longer the way towards the exit, or is wrong because the startups in general, specifically in Europe, do not factor this option as a source of growing and probably reaching to a certain level that make them larger and potentially more able to sell at a higher price, since what we have seen more than 1 hour ago that we are selling quite cheap. Or IPO no longer relevant because it's something new coming that's called ICO that is supposed to take the lead. So that is the topic we're going to discuss this tonight. And so I have for this 2 players that are pretty relevant. One you know because it's yours since a while, but I will introduce later, so I keep you waiting a bit more. One is coming from London Stock Exchange, specifically EIT, is Giordano Sassaroli.
Hello, everyone.
And the other one that is longer awaited because it's here since forever is Matt McGraw. Sorry. And is a partner of BlockOne Ventures, and is one, and I'm not joking now, is one of probably the people that know more about blockchain and ICO. And that's one we want to extract your knowledge. So let's start from the old-fashioned world of the IPOs from London Stock Exchange. So
thank you.
What's your take on this? What's your view? How do you see that?
Okay, if we start looking at the numbers of IPOs in European exchanges, actually IPOs are not really broken. The numbers are positive. Recent IPOs of technology companies were successful, and the performances of the technology IPOs of the latest 2 years are positive. 90% of the companies that listed in 2016 and 17 are trading up today. And going IPO for technology companies is proving positive for the investors. The latest have proven effective for investors to return on their investment, and are positive for companies as well. Other statistics say that there is an association between listing on the growth markets in Europe and an increase of 20% in number of jobs in the first year. But given this number, there must be something wrong, because considering that the number of technology IPOs in Europe is so low, there must be something wrong. So, as EIT, just 2 words about EIT. EIT is a pan-European platform for small, medium enterprises, for high-growth small, medium enterprises, and we help them structure and prepare to raise capital and to potentially go IPO, but generally IPO is just an option. And we help them by providing education on financial options, on strategic planning, on governance, access to a network of investors and other entrepreneurs, and we provide digital tools to make it easier or more standardized to raise capital. And as I said, IPOs are just an option for them. Today we have 600 companies from 25 countries in Europe. Small, medium enterprises, fast growing. Most of them consider the IPO just a very far option, costly and time-consuming option. And they see private capital raising as a most easier to achieve option, and they see that a potentially intermediate step toward an IPO. Over these 600 companies, 181 completed the transaction in the last year. Only 9 of them went public. Yeah. That's something that.
So there is a sort of barrier because, again, going public requires a lot of work, requires a lot of investment in terms of capital, because sometimes, again, it's becoming an expensive process. Because probably, so if I need to take away something, is an option that could make sense only if you are looking for a large amount of money. In a certain way, you can amortize the investment required. But, and this will give you the second data point, is if you look at the big IPOs from European companies, half of them happens in the US. So looks like that when they go big, 1 out of 2 comes over here. Why?
Yeah, again, there is, thanks to what we see in the elite companies, but what we believe is that, at least in Europe, there is a missing link toward capital raising, and this link is easier to access in the US market, at least. This is what happened so far. And this missing link is, can be created by providing them an easier access to the ecosystem of investors, contacts, knowledge about capital raising. And trying to reduce the time to capital. We have defined, in Elite, we have defined a KPI for us, that is TTC, time to capital. Today, to raise capital.
I've got a solution for you.
Oh yeah, I know that. And basically, today, to publish a deal, you know, and raise capital, even on a private placement, it takes at least 18 months. It's too long for a company.
Yes. Okay, let's pause a bit the IPO topics and then move to the potential new word. Yes. ICO. First of all, quick poll, who in the room knows what an ICO is, clearly?
That's more than I would expect.
Good. So, ICO, there is a big debate about this ICO. So I would like that you, first of all, explain what we're talking about. And secondly, you know, there is a big debate that is a sort of a string between 2 terms. One is called bubble. The other is called, start with BU, but I can't say the rest. And so, Josh, can you... This is our friend Mark Sasser that is just tweeted a few days ago is... Okay, ICO is not going to say the word. Just so, can you provide some light about what an ICO, what it does mean?
Yeah, happy to. First of all, I think I'm going to take a little bit of issue with one thing that you said. I think the capital markets and IPO, the whole IPO process in particular, is just broken. I think that, well, I know that the number of listed companies on the stock exchange in the United States is half of what it used to be. So people are not, I don't believe that companies are looking to that as a solution anymore. Slack should be public. There are many unicorns in Silicon Valley that are delaying going public because the process is horrible. I think there was a New York Times article just yesterday where the founder of Blue Bottle Coffee described going through an IPO process as living in, or being in hell but not being dead. And so that process it takes a long time, it's very expensive, it's not pleasant, it's incredibly distracting for companies. So I think that the capital markets are broken in a lot of ways. Time to capital is way too long. I don't necessarily think that the new world that we're talking about, the ICO, is the one answer. There are long-term stock exchanges. That's an idea that's got some intellectual credibility, I think, where that's a lot of people are thinking about that in the Valley right now. ICO is just another kind of tool in the tool shed for raising capital. Just to explain what an ICO is, you have it's kind of analogous to an IPO, but in the blockchain world. It's, everybody knows what Bitcoin is? Raise your hand if you know what Bitcoin is. Blockchain is just the underlying technology for Bitcoin. And there are many other blockchains that have other tokens or other coins like Bitcoin that are built on it. And you essentially have a token release and people buy that token, whether it's a utility or what we're talking about here is as a security to raise funds. Typically, in this current market, you can raise a lot of money very quickly. 90 days is not unheard of, from idea, some technical solution, some code, white paper, website, some marketing to an ICO. I think that's too quick. You know, I'm not just a true believer here. I think you have to have more credibility than that. I've grown and scaled several businesses, and my firm, which by the way is not BlockOne anymore, where this world is going through so many changes so quickly. We've rebranded already to a company called the Bureau. But the Bureau believes in, actually it's much like Elite. We provide a business service where we help you scale your business. People come to us all of the time. We get 60, 70 requests a month to help companies go from idea to ICO, and we say, no, that's not your goal. Your goal is from idea to a scaled company. And ICO is just a fundraising initiative on top of that.
May I answer?
Yes.
I cannot stay silent. I mean, specifically on the concept of broken associated to traditional markets. It's not a matter of being broken. Regulations and policies are there to ensure and guarantee that some values, and have been defined, of course, to protect and to ensure that all the transparency and all the checks about who is
How's that work for
IPO,
most people so far?
There is a lot of space of improvement and to increase the efficiency of the process. So that's also our role. So trying to make it more efficient. So on the concept of time and cost to go public, I agree fully with you. There is a big space for improvement. If you ask me about ICOs, if you ask me whether the technology behind ICOs will be at the core of the future efficiencies of even of the IPOs, my answer is yes. It's highly likely. If you ask me if the current ICOs, without the regulation that is completely missing today, if they are going to be the future way of raising capital, I might not agree.
We agree then. I think there needs to be more regulation in the ICO market.
Need more regulation.
Absolutely.
We changed the rule. Question from the floor. Quick.
I come from the ICO world. Actually, I'm from Istria.
I like this. It's awesome. Welcome to the new world.
And you know, I come from a company that did the first big ICO in Europe from economy. And you know, it's like we raised 15 millions from 3,500 investors, just based on idea. That's what you were saying.
Yep.
A great vision, and those 3,500 people were believing in our idea, our vision. Now the market capitalization of the company is 150 millions. Why is that relevant for us? Because we are coming from Slovenia, tiny country in the middle of nowhere in Europe. And I think we proved that there is a way how to stay in Europe without do the right things, and you don't have to go to the United States. So the things I find extremely interesting is that we have good cases in European Union. We should learn. We are open to talk. We have a perfect relationship with our government. But the most important thing is that we see that this new ICO thing is actually the possible disruptor for the old VC system. Can you?
Yeah, it is decentralizing the idea of funding for companies. It's just bringing capital to a more equitable space in a lot of ways. But I do agree that we need more light and correctly built regulation.
Okay, just to moving towards the end of our discussion. For one question for Giordano is what is doing London Stock Exchange that is broken based on some, but probably is not, to fill the gaps, meaning there is some initiative to try to bridge this IPO to the world of tech companies, because again, the IPO is still an instrument that is used by established mid-sized companies, probably that companies are not using. It's time is relevant, but probably there's a problem just to inform them and to find a fast track to do that. And B, I know that you are launching something that is an initiative like Club Deal that might be leverage the role of London Stock Exchange and probably provide a fast access to private placement.
Yeah, specifically, Club Deal is a platform that tried to address this issue. Basically, it is a digital tool to support the private placement process. It provides companies with standardized documentation templates and a common process that simplifies and make it clear in advance the process to follow to raise capital. And this accelerates and reduces the time required by the company to provide documentation, and it clarifies in advance and standardizes the way investors reach the company, and the process is tracked. We have just launched a couple of additional packages on top of this platform, and one is a basket bond, where a group of private companies can join their forces and issue bonds, and these are packaged in new security, so that investors can easily invest on just one security, mixing the bonds issued by the group of companies. And the other one is what is called SPAC in Cloud. So basically, it digitalizes the process of going IPO through this digital platform. So the company who is going IPO is collecting interest from investors in advance using this digital tool. And this has a potential to accelerate by order of magnitudes this process. And other initiatives, we are also part of a project that the SEP project, the Startups Europe project, and that has this objective, and we are in the project together with Mind the Bridge and other prestigious partners. The objective of this project is just to help scale-ups to receive qualified opportunities to make business with other scale-ups and to reach investors. And this again should try to address the problem of the 2% of scale-ups reaching the public markets.
Final question for you, Matt. What is the biggest potential risk to ignite the ICO bubble if it ever will bust?
The wrong kind of regulation. You know, the news out of China over the last week or two has obviously spooked a lot of people. I think that's temporary. There's a lot of money in China that is in on this. There's actually going to be a big ICO that's coming out of China very soon that nobody seems to know about yet. So I think the wrong kind of regulation could burst the bubble, but honestly, Google started in the last bubble. You know, so you know, there's going to be great blockchain companies that have an ICO today that are going to change the world tomorrow, no matter what. So,
okay. So, thank you, guys. If you want to stay for the next one,
I'll stay all night.
thank you.
Thank you.